Okay, Life Lessons podcast. Starting up again. Here we go. So, I'm thinking about my friend at work, my coworker at work. Her friend or her sister passed away. So, I wanted to talk a little bit more about grief because grief can be devastating. I mean, the loss of someone close to you that you rely on, that you talk to every single day. I mean, that can be a life-changing event. So I want to give you guys some tools to help navigate that event when it eventually happens. I mean, it's going to happen. It's better to just accept the fact that the truth that people die and they, change. I prefer to think of it as they change forms because I don't believe we ever die. And there needs to be a remapping in the mind. Otherwise, our map is going to be wrong. So, and what I mean by that, it's that situation like when you get home from work, let's say, and you're expecting a full house or you're expecting someone to be there, and they're not there. And you don't know where they went, and it's kind of like, oh, where are they? It's that weird void feeling. So there needs to be a remapping of that person and what that person did for you in your life. So the way to remap this is to look at the parts of that person, look at the traits. So maybe they were funny, maybe they were cute, maybe they, were beautiful. Look at the traits. Maybe they had long, beautiful hair, or a beautiful smile, so that would be like the traits. And then look at the action or inaction that they would do. Okay, now all of this is based off of the Demartini method. I would highly recommend that you learn the Demartini method. But I'm going to just summarize how to manage grief using the Demartini method here. So you have to look at the parts that person provided, the trait, the action, or the inaction. So maybe they called you. Maybe they hugged you. And look at, after their passing, who emerged that demonstrated the same trait, action, or inaction. So you have to go piece by piece, action by action, trait by trait, or inaction by inaction. And you have to go piece by piece and look at where each part is emerging around you. So this is the remapping process happening. So rather than you looking for it from the one person, now you're starting to look for it in your total environment. You're remapping your mind, your awareness, to find all of those things that existed. from that you were getting from that one person. And this begins to fill that void, that feeling of something missing. And not only that, it also helps you to feel their presence. But there's one core step that needs to be done. So I mentioned before that there's an infatuation that happens. So this infatuation needs to be calmed down. So you go to the moment where that person was, let's say, hugging or doing whatever action or trait, and you look at the drawback to you. What is the downside to you? And now you look at the new form and you want to create several drawbacks until you feel it's perfectly balanced. Then you look at the new form. Who's hugging you now? Who's comforting you? And look at and ask yourself in that moment and until today, what is the benefit and service to you? You're raising up the new form and you're bringing down the old form. But you want to get to a perfect balance of both forms. And then you will start to feel that person's presence. The things that you loved about them still exist all around you in this infinite environment. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to share the Demartini method with you. It's this remapping and several of the other Demartini method strategies are extremely effective. They are what I've found over the last 20 years to create change, and permanent change that isn't based on some rah-rah mentality. It's based on universal law, based in reality, and it works. That's why I'm attracted to it. I want to find modalities that work, and this is definitely one that works. I'm a trained facilitator, and I use this in my coaching. And it's probably the best that I've found so far. I would say it doesn't take a long time to overcome grief, but it's not necessarily an easy process. It can be done in a few hours, but it's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be painful. You're going to have to search and put effort in to seeing the other side, to see those things that where they have emerged, and to see the downside, the old form, and the upside of the beautiful one. So it takes a bit of work to remap your brain. But once it's done, then it's done. And you could have your peace back. You could have your purpose back. And you basically can have your whole life back on track. It doesn't need to be a derailing event. Change can happen quickly. It just needs the right set of awareness, the right question, and that you could have change. So, Life Lessons podcast, I would say the lesson for today is to learn this method of how to deal with grief or any kind of loss. This is part of the Demartini method. It's only one part. It's outlined in his book, The Heart of Love. Dr. John Demartini wrote this book called The Heart of Love. It's one of his 40 books. But in some of the last chapters, the book is on relationships. But in some of the later chapters, he talks about grief. And he outlines his grief method. There is supposed to be another book coming out. So it's 2024 right now, January 2024. There is supposed to be another book coming out based on grief, but apparently it's having trouble publishing it because nobody believes that grief can be overcome in a few short hours. So I've seen it. Others have seen it. It's something that the world just has not caught up to. The world as we know it is not truly where we're at. There is cutting edge strategies that people, the general public, are just not aware of. So this is one of them. And if you're lucky enough to hear this podcast and find out about it, then take advantage of it. Buy that book. Learn the grief technique. Learn the Demartini method. Start applying it. And keep listening to this podcast, and I'm going to keep teaching you and explaining more about it. So, okay. Talk to you later. Bye. One last thing, if you ever need help being facilitated with the Demartini method for grief, for PTSD, whatever coaching you might need, whatever issue you might need, then visit my website, spencelifecoaching.com, and set up an appointment. Email me, and we will work out those imbalances. Okay.